She strangled a man in his mother's basement, dismembered him, left his head in a bucket, and months later, she laughed in court. Not nervous laughter, not shock, real laughter, while his family sat just feet away. How could someone describe a killing calmly, mock the courtroom, and still claim insanity? Was she truly mentally ill, or did she know exactly what she was doing? I'm bringing you this case on Criminal Women, where I examine the complex psychology behind female perpetrators. If cases like this interest you, subscribe now, because I publish 2 new cases every week. When you first see her sitting in that courtroom, you wouldn't think you're looking at someone accused of one of the most disturbing crimes in Wisconsin in recent years. She's 25 years old, blonde, calm, almost bored. Then she smiles. Then she laughs. Not once, not by accident. She laughs while the charges are read. The victim's family is there. His mother is there, and she laughs. This is the case of Taylor Schabusiness, a woman who shocked Green Bay not just because of what she did, but because of how she acted after. To understand that courtroom moment, we have to go back to the night everything changed. February 2022, Green Bay, Wisconsin. Cold, quiet. The kind of night where nothing feels unusual. Taylor had been staying with friends, drifting through life, struggling with drugs, unstable relationships, and untreated mental health issues. She had a history: bipolar disorder, psychosis diagnoses as a teenager, hospital visits, medication she didn't always take. But that night, nothing looked different on the outside. She met up with a man she had known for years, Shad Thyrion. They weren't strangers. They had history. They had dated on and off since middle school. They shared friends, shared habits, shared a lifestyle that revolved around drugs and chaos. They ended up at his mother's house. She was asleep upstairs. They went down to the basement. What happened next would become one of the most horrifying confessions investigators had ever heard. According to Taylor's own words, things turned violent fast. She wrapped a metal dog chain around his neck. At first, she claimed it was part of something consensual. But then she pulled tighter and tighter. He struggled. His face changed color. He couldn't breathe. She didn't stop. Later, during interrogation, she calmly described watching his face turn purple. She said there was blood coming from his mouth. She said she knew he was dying, and she kept going. He died in that basement. That alone is horrifying. But what happened after is what made this case unforgettable. Instead of calling for help, instead of panicking, she stayed for hours. She admitted to sexually assaulting his body after he was dead. She described it without emotion. She was talking about rearranging furniture. Then she went upstairs, took knives from the kitchen, came back down, and began to dismember him. Not in a moment of frenzy, not in blind rage. Slowly. She cut off his head, removed limbs, placed body parts in bags. At one point, his mother came downstairs briefly. Taylor managed to hide what she was doing and waited until she left. Imagine that moment. Upstairs, a mother getting ready for bed. Downstairs, her son being cut apart. Yes, eventually, Shad's mother discovered something was wrong. There was a bucket in the basement, covered, out of place. Inside was her son's severed head. She called 911 in shock, barely able to explain what she was seeing. Officers arrived, thinking maybe it was a misunderstanding. It wasn't. It was real. While police processed the scene, Taylor was elsewhere. She hadn't run far. She hadn't hidden well. When officers approached her, they noticed blood on her clothes, in the vehicle, on her hands. And what did she do? She acted strange, talking to herself, smiling, making odd comments, almost like she was performing. At the police station, she waived her rights and confessed. Detectives later confirmed the entire interrogation was video recorded. She spoke coherently, answered questions directly, and corrected officers on small details. Investigators noted she did not appear confused about time, place, or identity during questioning. Calmly, she described strangling him, described cutting him apart, even joked that investigators would have fun finding all the organs. That sentence stuck with people. Was she insane, or was she enjoying the shock? That question became the center of everything. From the beginning, her defense focused on mental illness. Her history was real. Diagnoses were documented. She had struggled for years. Drug use made everything worse. Methamphetamine can distort reality, and it can push people into psychosis. Court records showed toxicology reports confirmed meth use prior to the killing. However, no medical professional testified that she was in a documented psychotic break at the exact time of the homicide. But prosecutors argued something else. They said her actions showed planning, awareness, conscious decisions. She tried to clean up. She moved body parts. She attempted to conceal evidence. She spoke clearly during interrogation. She knew right from wrong. Then came the trial in 2023, and that's when the world saw the courtroom behavior. She smirked at cameras, made faces at the judge. At one point, she lunged at her own defense attorney in open court. Deputies had to tackle her. Following that courtroom incident, the judge ordered competency evaluations. The multiple mental health assessments were conducted at the Wisconsin Resource Center to determine whether she could understand proceedings and assist in her defense. It looked chaotic, wild, unhinged. But some experts asked, was this real mental illness, or was it manipulation? Because here's the thing. When she needed to speak clearly, she could. When she wanted to argue a legal point, she did. When it benefited her to appear unstable, she acted unstable. Jurors watched everything, and they saw body camera footage from the arrest. Jurors were also shown forensic evidence collected from the basement, including blood pattern analysis and tool markings on bone, which indicated the dismemberment occurred over an extended period rather than minutes. They heard her confession played in court. They listened to medical examiners describe the injuries in clinical detail, the decapitation, the cuts, the hours it would have taken. This wasn't a quick explosion of violence. This took time. And time means thought. The defense brought in mental health experts who said she was severely ill, that she was in a psychotic state, that drugs and untreated bipolar disorder combined into something catastrophic. The prosecution asked one simple question. If she didn't know what she was doing was wrong, why try to hide it? Why bag body parts? Why leave with some of them? Why clean up? Why confess in such detail? The jury deliberated. And they came back with a verdict, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and sexual assault. But Wisconsin law required another phase, deciding if she was legally insane at the time. Again, jurors listened. Again, they reviewed everything. And again, they decided she was legally sane. She knew what she was doing. She knew it was wrong. Now we return to that courtroom moment. The judge prepared to sentence her. Life in prison without parole was on the table. Now, throughout the trial, she had smiled, whispered, acted detached, almost amused. But when the judge began speaking about the gravity of the crime, about human dignity, about the pain inflicted on a family, something shifted. Her expression changed, just slightly. The performance seemed to fade. He sentenced her to life in prison without the possibility of release. No more smirking, no more joking, just silence. Even after sentencing, she gave jailhouse interviews where she claimed she was insane. She talked about appeals, legal strategies. She showed more frustration about being caught than about taking a life. And that's what makes this case so disturbing. It's not only the violence, it's the behavior, the laughter, the mockery, the way she treated a courtroom, a place where a family was reliving the worst moment of their lives, like it was a stage. Was she mentally ill? Yes. She had diagnoses. Did drugs play a role? Absolutely. But the court decided something important. Mental illness does not automatically erase responsibility. You can struggle, you can suffer, and still make a choice. Taylor Schabusiness made a choice that night in that basement. And she made choices afterward, to conceal, to confess without remorse, to perform in court. Today, she sits in prison in Wisconsin, serving life. She is currently housed within the Wisconsin state prison system, and where inmates serving life sentences are not eligible for parole under state law for first-degree intentional homicide convictions. The laughter is gone. The cameras are gone. The courtroom is empty. But for one family, none of it is over. because while she treated it like a spectacle, for them, it was real. And that is the part that no performance can erase. Cases like this stay with you, not just because of the crime, but because of the way it unfolded in front of everyone. I'd love to know what you think. Was it illness, manipulation, or both? If you found this story powerful, share it. Drop your thoughts below and stick around for more.